Hi, I'm Jeff Waters from the band Annihilated. And I have a squeaky chair. I had to say that. So if you hear anything weird during the interview, it's the chair up.
It's actually Jeff. I heard him when he was standing up. Give some guitar.
I'm Canadian, and we always blame our stupid, childish humor on the Brits because your queen is on our money, and that's how we get away when the Americans tell us we have weird humor. We say, oh, we got it from the Brits.
That's good to hear, because it's a dying art here in England. Great Britain, I should say.
What, humor?
Oh, yeah. Oh, PC correctness. You've got to be careful with your humour these days. Anyway, I'm here with Jeff Waters of Canadian Thrashers, Annihilated. Got a new album out. I can't say it. Annihilated.
Anal Eater. That's a good one. Yeah. You said Anal Eater?
Yeah. I've got a brand new album out, Suicide Society, out on September the 18th on UDI Music. And it's your 15th studio album.
Got it.
And how are you, Jeff? You're in a good mood today?
Yeah, I'm trying to pretend I'm awake and drinking lots of coffee and having fun in beautiful London, I think. Is that where we are? No, I was in Germany. I think within this 24-hour span that we're talking, I will have been in Hanover, Germany, London, England, and Paris, France, and then out to Frankfurt. So that's in 36 hours. So it's a wham bam, thank you ma'am trip.
So even when it comes to promoting the album, it's just like being on tour. It's non-stop.
Well, if I was an outsider and I thought, why are they just getting him in and out of there? It's probably because he must have something in his contract that says you have to do press trip, but they're not interested in promoting the record. It's the opposite. We weren't supposed to. I wasn't supposed to be here talking about my new CD or a band's new CD. We just had got called in for a pleasant emergency, which was. Hey, that's a good title for something there, Pleasant Emergency. We get called in from Canada to group the band up and come over and shoot 2 videos for 2 songs off our new record, upcoming record. And which is great because no record company's ever asked us to do 2. Usually they don't ask to do 1 video. You have to beg them or cut a deal with them to get 1. And it was a nice surprise to get 2 videos, and they sent the band home when it was done, of course, and said, Jeff, we'd like you to stay. We want to send you around Europe a little bit, really quickly, just to do some advanced press talking, yapping about the record. So, in other words, I'm not supposed to be here.
But I'm glad you are, because you are a busy man for the rest of the year. And let's talk about the album title, Suicide Society. What can we read into the album title?
Pretty well what it sounds like. I'd written a few songs, maybe a couple in the past. One called Stonewall, which actually got a lot of listens and views from a video we did in 1990 on a record we did way back. And that was definitely my first stab at a sort of environmentally conscious observation kind of video about what's going on around us. But you know, I was young, drank lots of beer, was in a metal band, still am, just don't drink the beer, I'm not as young. I'm better looking, but fatter. Basically, I've never been one. I've written subjects about certain things that mean something to me, and some don't mean anything. Some are personal things, humorous things, goofy things, psychological things. Occasionally, I'll have something that does mean something to me, at least, or is actually about a good subject. But in the case of an environmental type song, it's just something I wrote down on a piece of paper saying, here's some good subjects to write about lyrics for my new record, Suicide. I didn't know the title yet. And I would go through that when I was listening to the music and think, maybe this subject would be good on this music. And then I'd go from there and start writing a lyric. So it was not really, it's like I'm there, I know what the causes are, I know what the right things to do in life are, and be good to people, and don't throw your gum on the street, and don't kick animals, don't be mean to other people, certain things are bad, and blah, blah, blah. You know what's right and wrong. When I was writing the song, I was kind of just there. I knew what we were doing to the earth, I knew what we were doing to each other, what humans are doing to each other. But I wasn't 100% into it, you know? And then I decided to write down what things mankind is doing to mankind that is horrible, like bad things we're doing to each other, and then continue that on and write what we're doing to the earth. And that's pretty deep for me, actually. And I hit page 3 of writing these things down. And I went, okay, well that isn't going to fit into a song. But it hit me at the end of writing that. I had to stop because I had that moment where I sat back for the first time ever about this subject and realized what a bunch of idiots we all are in this world in general. How bad everything has got, and yes, it is a pessimistic song, and yes, it is reality, that we are running out of oil. The drug companies are prescribing 99% of antidepressants are actually are killing people. I mean, they're not doing anything for the people that they're prescribed for. I could name off 3 pages of stuff. Crooked politicians, the same thing punk bands have been writing about for decades, and it's like, I had this moment where it was just embarrassing, and then you start to get a little fear going on about where we're at and what's happening, and most people are not living in reality or living that way. And I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not, going to go on fur commercials on television and say anti-fur commercials, or I'm not well educated. I don't know anything about politics. But I wrote a song that actually meant something to me. 99% of it is a reality check on the human race and what we're doing to the planet and ourselves. Maybe the 1% that's not pessimistic was the last line of the song, which essentially says, in my mind, there still is time to fix a lot of what we're screwing up. But in reality, I don't know how we're going to fix a lot of this stuff. And I wouldn't begin to have any answer, but maybe now I know why a lot of celebrities or artists and songwriters that believe in a cause really get into it, because I can see you can probably change some things, but that's not why the song was written. It was just an observation, and I ended up getting pretty pissed off and emotional and depressed about it. It's just a friggin' metal song, and somehow it affects you. It's one of the few songs I've ever written that actually affected myself, changed a little bit in me.
Well, that's a great long answer. You sound like quite a social conscious man. So has the world changed a lot? Like, you've been touring the world for almost 30 years now. So are we in a better place now? Or
20 years. Okay, 30. You mean as a music business, or?
Well, just generally in life. Generally.
There's a lot of great people out there, and you sometimes, depending on your life, my friends, people I see, different experiences. Everybody has a different thing. Some people live in not poverty necessarily, but live with tough conditions, and yet they're the happiest people in the world. And then you've got rich, spoiled people that are miserable, and yet, but you've got everything in there. And amongst all this stuff, you really do, in every sort of, if there is such a thing, class, and every type of person in society, you got some pretty good, nice people. There's so many good things, and of course we're bombarded in the media about the bad people and the negative things. But but going back to the other one, which I don't want to do because I yapped a lot, is it's still not enough good people in the world right now doing enough to change the real problems. But yeah, I'm blown away by how many good people there are, even in the music business. I mean, even in the press, even in the record companies, publishers, merchandisers, bands, management. I was bred on thinking they're all evil, and not evil, but you know what I mean. There's always some crooked thing or some kind of competition with another band, or there's always something. And then you start, when you're around this long, you start finding people, cultures, foods, bands, musicians, press, all these people, the nice people. You just find the good ones. You find the good of everything, the good restaurants, like everything.
And surround yourself with those people as well. And with this album, you've gone back to handling the vocals, because Dave Padden's left after 11 years service.
Yeah.
And was that because you couldn't find anybody else, or you just fancied the challenge of handling the vocals again?
Mostly. It was, when Dave left, he was my partner with Annihilated, and he was the guitar player live and singing live. A partner in Annihilated, meaning the singer originally. And basically it was a shock when he left. Looking back now, he had said looking back, when in December 2014 he said he was just getting tired of the whole process. And I was kind of in shock, because this is my life, my career. I never saw it coming. And he's been my guy, he's the guy, and we never got in arguments. And I said, is it money? Do you need, do you want some more money? Do you want some guitars? I got a few hundred. Do you want some? endorsement, what is it that you need? And I can try to do it. And is it me or is it the music? What's going on? And he said it had nothing to do with any of that. It wasn't money, it wasn't me, it wasn't the band. It was simply he was getting sick of the traveling. And Annihilated's last 3 records have been going up slowly. We hit a real low point from 96 to 2007, where it was enough to sell records, enough to tour, but not in the UK and not in Scandinavia, and just survive, barely survive at it. And I had to do other jobs to keep everything going in music, my studio stuff. So, things have been, the last 3 Annihilated records have been going up and up in sales. So I was just totally blown away by why would you leave now when it's doing the opposite of what most bands are doing with declining CD sales. And, this is a great time, having fun and more festivals. But that was the thing, we were doing more festivals, more touring, more appearances, more endorsement stuff, longer recording on the record. You get lots of calls, one-offs, let's go to Mexico, do a festival, let's go here and there. So even though Annihilated would officially only have maybe 2 tours and 2 summer festival runs, 2 different summers, you throw in all the South American dates and all the one-offs, and you're busy all year round, right? Recording, writing, blah, blah, blah. So he just got sick of it, just too much. Some people can't do 2 weeks of that kind of lifestyle. And in hindsight, I was lucky to have him for 11 years, but also because he helped save my Annihilated butt for quite a few years when without a singer I would have tanked. But also he helped me, advise me. It was a sounding board, I could ask him questions. But in hindsight, the last couple of Annihilator CDs, I didn't want to see it, but I saw it. He was not into it. And if you're not into it as a singer and you're not writing the lyrics, which he had the opportunity to do, it's very hard. There's only one singer, the singer in Boston, top of my head. I don't know if he wrote the lyrics, but I think it was a Tom Scholz thing. But anyway, I might be wrong.
He wrote some, but he wrote a few.
Skid Row, Sebastian.
Yep.
He's got to be the best example of a singer who didn't write the lyrics on most of the stuff, and 2 guys in the band or whatever wrote the lyrics, and he not only could sing operatic, clean style, he could scream, he could be like a punk metal singer, but you believed every word he was saying, and you would never know that he didn't write that word.
Same as Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh yeah, I guess so. I guess some pop singers do it in their own way too. I guess there are some pop singers where you really believe what they're saying and they didn't write it. But you have to have that. If you don't have that, at least that drive, there's no way you're going to be able to pull it off when you didn't even write the lyrics. So I saw that, but I didn't even for once think about talking to him about it because I didn't want to lose the guy. Now, after the initial panic for a few weeks and looking for another singer, and oh my God, my career's done, what am I going to do? This crazy panic pacing stuff, and my fiance would be just relaxed and going, do you see what you're doing? 15 minutes, you're just walking around banging the counter or playing drums. What are you doing? And I'd be like, I don't know, was I talking to you? I didn't know what was going on. After I got across over that shock of Dave leaving and what the hell do I do, I knew right away. I had to start looking for singers right away. It was either old school guys, Halford Dio Dickinson, which is perfect, those are my favorite singers, but that's not what I'm looking for. Or it was the younger crowd. It was either the Korn, Marilyn Manson graduates, or it was Machine Head, Kill Switch Engage, where you got the screaming going in the verses, and then chorus or pre-chorus is 2 beautiful, clean, harmony-sung things, and then back to the heavy screaming on the verses. So it became, why can't I have all that? Because I like all that stuff. So, couldn't find it. The standards were way too high, so, which is ironic because I ended up singing. But that's what happened. I said I sang on 3 records before, I can do this, but the record was all recorded and finished. Lyrics done, melody lines. I sang on a CD for Dave to here's the singing. I usually do that on all albums, and I could have made the most incredible mistake of my life and walked right into the studio and attempted to do the record as a singer, and it would have killed me. It would have killed the whole deal. It would have been a disgrace. I stopped and I shut down the whole project. I took vocal lessons for 6 weeks, intense for 6 weeks. And then I You see, look at me, I'm in an interview. Shut the fuck up! Fuck. It's the president of Gibson. Edit. I pretty well took lessons for, I don't know, 6 weeks or so, and said that's the first step. The second step is, sure, you sang on records before, and I had one record called King of the Kill that was popular. But if you listen to the record, it's popular because I think of the music and the songs, not because of the amazing vocals. So there's things on my voice I didn't like. After the lessons, I would sit here and say, this is what I don't like, and this is the couple of things I like. Therefore, the last step was, you gotta have a sort of guide here, because you're not 20, you haven't had 30 years of singing under your belt and know your style. I thought, what do I sing in the shower or when I'm cooking dinner, or which I rarely cook anymore. Fiance, German. Sing in the shower, sing in the laundry room, walk around the house. Well, I don't sing Halford, Dickens, and Dio because I can't, and they're the kings of 100 million. But what I can do, almost, is sing Alice in Chains, Ozzy, Megadeth, Metallica. So those are the 4 bands that I wrote down that I sing all the time. And I thought, well, maybe I have been singing for decades. And I basically had it on paper. I'm not going to clone these guys because I can't, and it would be too obvious. But that is exactly what I do, is these 2 things that Waters likes about his voice and these guys. And that's what I do. I did the record like that with no stress. I wouldn't refer back to these singers. I just knew that's where it was going to go. And I just literally, I know it sounds dumb, but I pretended I was singing in the bloody shower, and it worked. I think the actual album, if you listen to what I did on King of the Kill, which was a big record for us, and you listen to it now, you wouldn't think it's the same dude. So
fantastic.
Hopefully you guys like it.
I was like, not only do you sing and play the guitar, but you also handle all the writing, the guitar parts, the bass parts, you engineer the records, you produce it, you mix it, and the masters. Is that because only you can get that sound you're looking for?
No, I mean, there was, initially when I started the band, I wanted a band, and I looked for a singer and found one, and we wrote a song called Alice in Hell together, which was the biggest collaboration I could ever have hoped for, because that set my career in motion. And I found a band, young, late teenage years we were, and they all wanted to go party, go out with their girlfriends, go to clubs. I wanted to stay in my room, avoid all that. They were, smoking, drinking, and which I wanted to do. Girls definitely wanted to do. Going out to clubs, seeing bands, yes, I did that sometimes, but my thing was I wanted to spend the entire weekend, when I'm done school there, and spend 10 hours a day learning how to play like James Hetfield, or back then it was more like, Van Halen, or Malcolm Young, or Rudy Schenker, rhythm guitar stuff. And they just wanted to go party. So I realized, well, if they're not going to be on the demo, I got to play bass. I got to learn how to play bass. Then I need to sit behind a drum kit and learn how to play the drums. And I did that. And then the singer's not there, I'll write lyrics. And I didn't know how to sing, so I yelled into the microphone, like the beginnings of death metal. And that's how it became, well, if you got to do it, you got to do it yourself. And that included learning how to use a little cassette 4-track machine they had back in the 80s. And you had to learn how to use this thing. So that's actually the beginning of my studio owner, engineering, producing, mixing, mastering career. And we did our first album. It was quite a success, called Alice in Hell. The singer left to go back to his old job after the cycle was done. And I was screwed. I was like, I just lost a singer. Why would he quit? We're on top of the world. And that was the beginning of the Jeff Waters solo project in the studio and songwriting area. And I would hire band members to play drums in the studio, get a singer, and hire him. And then I would go on tour, but I would hire guys to go on the tour. And that's Annihilated right from the beginning. So what the hell was your question?
Well, I'm going to change the question now, because we just talked about the studio work. And the first time I saw Annihilated live was actually supporting Judas Priest on the Painkiller tour, which I think was about 1991.
Oh yeah.
And obviously that's an iconic tour, Judas Priest, Painkiller, And when
Pantera was on that.
And Pantera, I think they toured with you in America, didn't they, on that tour?
They weren't on the UK dates.
No, not in the UK dates, no.
No, they said it was a schedule thing, but I think what happened on the tour was, may have been scheduled, who knows. but I've read a few books by Rex and a few people about their recounting or whatever it's called. And I was a drunk back then, but they were double drunks, triple drunks, and my memory was okay from that. They were getting booed on stage throughout Europe because you had this band come on, play 30 minutes, and Annihilated had their biggest album called Never Neverland, so we were well known there. And then Priest puts out the 14th album of their career, and they come out with Painkiller.
Yeah, one of the best, yeah.
Mind-blowing, right? So this unknown band, that Cowboys from Hell was just coming out, it was kind of unknown. They would come on and do a 30-minute set, and in Europe, especially Germany, that culture of metal then, you never, gave your middle finger to the fans. You never told them to go fuck yourself. You never, the guy's wearing these shorts, like a Henry Rollins kind of thing, and he's got tattoos, and he's giving his middle finger and spitting on the crowd and stuff. And everything I just mentioned, you never did in 1989, 87, 90, 91. And of course, what do people do? They boo. We all, Annihilated, we're kind of like, in a way, enjoying this a little bit because we were both still the support bands. But we were like, having a big album take off, and we were sitting at the side of the stage. We shared a bus with them. We were sitting at the side of the stage watching their show before we went on. And yeah, a lot of nights they just got booed, and they even left the stage early sometimes.
Wow.
Because it was just, they were like so pissed off at the crowd.
And what was your memories of Dimebag Darrell?
Well, okay, that's a good one, but so finishing that other thought off, it was very interesting because we saw this drummer playing a shuffle beat, like Van Halen, Alex Van Halen, and we love Van Halen, but a shuffle beat, that's kind of strange and this heavy stuff. And then you had this punk-looking singer with shaved head or weird hair and tattoos and telling the crowd to F off. And you had this guy with these stockings on playing bass, and the guitar player was awesome, like making these squeals, and that guy seemed more of the, like, okay, that guy could be fit in, a little bit, but we knew they were talented, and we said, we love this band, we like these guys, but we weren't really certain they had a future in this European metal scene. And the funniest thing is, a year later, Annihilated lost his record deal. My girlfriend kicked me out of my apartment. I went to rehab for alcohol, and they became one of the biggest metal bands in history. So that's an example, kids, of when you make a comment about your local musician playing in your competitive band of your Battle of the Bands. Don't ever underestimate the fact that guy could be in Van Halen in 10 years, like the new Van Halen or the new Slayer, or, So anyway, we guessed wrong with that, and we were wrong. But they were great guys, and they deserved every bit of that.
So did you associate your Dimebag? Going back to my question? Is that no longer with us?
I was more, like, they had the Texas style of being and attitude, and they were also working on their image
Because their image changed from what it was originally.
Yeah, power metal to that, but they were also working on their images in their attitude, how they were going to act around other people in public. And I think maybe some of that on the tour bus was part of their new thing, and some of it was real. And so we get to see both sides. When you share a bus with someone for 2 months, you get to know a lot of things, and on both sides. But there was a dividing line. There was the Canadians who loved to drink and smoke a little weed or something, but it was not that hardcore. It wasn't to die or to kill yourself. We had an American singer who did like to go to the extreme with stuff. But and we did drink and we did party, but then these guys were so much more hardcore. They were like, you see from the Vulgar videos with them, and we were sitting there just going, holy crap. I thought I drank a lot tonight. I had 12 beers. That's nothing. That's like a sip of water. So it was interesting watching that. Phil was the guy I hung out with and got along with, which is ironic because Dime and I were both born, we're the same age, 66 and similar. We both had almost the identical influences. Van Halen, Tony Iommi, James Hetfield, and we would sit there sometimes and not a lot though, but I remember I remember Portugal and 4 or 5 other cities that we and there was a little competition because we were both young and we were both the support band for Priest. So I think in hindsight, I wish I knew what was going to happen so I could have actually we both could have just dropped that shit and just sort of talk normally and really, really talk. But we would sit there and exchange licks and would say, you know, do you remember this Glenn Tipton Victim of Changes thing? And then he'd say, do you remember this Randy Rhoads thing? And we would jam this stuff and we'd get along. We'd always get along, but that was it. Whereas Phil and I would just go out party and just have fun and
Fantastic. Yeah.
And that's because I think because there was no little childish competition like there was between the guitar players, maybe, you know.
And I think Judas Priest were top of their game then. And so what did you learn from Judas Priest on that tour?
Well, I think that tour I learned two things. One, never judge another band or another musician. That was a big one. It didn't really affect my career or my life, but it's just a big, like, wow, that's funny kind of moment. But I learned just a lot about the professionalism. It was a little late at that point for that tour because I was already full-blown alcoholic, but and I had been for a few years before that. But when I sobered up, it was you remembered what went on the tour and how professional these guys really were. Just professional was the right word.
All the top bands like that, you just Scorpions, your ACDCs, Iron Maidens, some
It's
different
such
level.
another level. It's amazing.
And before representing you up, I noticed on your Facebook page you posted an article by VH1 who sort of put up the top 10 Thrash debut albums, and yours was up there. And do you listen to Thrash albums yourself? And what are your favourites?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask me what I think about that.
Well, what do you think about it?
Okay, well, now that you asked, I love it because it gets me a lot of attention and publicity from places that I normally don't, like in North America. But I'm taking a wild guess that was written by one person who left out some of the most amazing debuts of Exodus, Bonded by Blood. There's a whole bunch. Exciter, Heavy Metal Maniac. There's just Hard and Heavy by, well, Anvil's Hard and Heavy was not really thrash. It was like
Well, sort of speed metal, weren't they? Yeah.
like a Ted Nugent meets the new beginning of metal.
What Anvil would influence on you, actually, being
The
Canadian?
first two Anvil albums, now, this is sad that I say this or think this, but I'm almost like Steve and Rob are good friends of mine. I see them all the time. But there's two Anvils. There's the Anvil that everybody knows from the movie, and there's the Anvil that I knew as a fan, but also know now. And I'm just a little embarrassed about when I say the name of the album, Metal on Metal, because then all the people that aren't even into this music know that song, and that's perfect for them, and it's great to get the movie in that. But I'm one of those. You remember the Metallica fans that are so no, man. As soon as Justice was done, that was it. The Black Album is not. From then on, it was downhill. When you get to those kind of fans, that's what I was about Metallica up to Justice. Yes, Black Album amazing, but not my thing. From then on, and you had Fuel, and you had the good tracks in there, and I liked their latest record was probably Yes, I Got It Back a little bit, and I hope the next record's even better. But going back to that, I was a real fanatic about those first two, and maybe third one, Forged in Fire. But the first two Anvil albums were very influential on Lars, on James, and on the Big Four, and a lot of those bands, because if you take away this metal on metal commercial, everybody knows metal, and that's all they know. The first Anvil album, Hard and Heavy, was pure Ted Nugent on guitar, playing Nugent rock and roll, but inventing a new form, which is an aggressive, almost evil thing that wasn't Black Sabbath. It was just like, what is this shit? It's amazing. And then they come out with, they come right out with Mothra 666, and they come out with Jackhammer, and all these just brilliant songs on the first two records. And that and Fire Down Under by Riot. There's some, relatively unknown first albums. I don't know if that's their first album, but that album was just...
That's highly influential,
massive.
yeah, Fire Down Under.
Sweet Desolation Boulevard, if you want to go way back. Set Me Free, Into the Night. Some of these songs were the best overall songwriting in history, came not from Chin and Chapman, the guys that wrote Fox on the Run and Ballroom Blitz. It came from the band that wrote Into the Night, Set Me Free. All these just sick, and you'd be amazed how many people do not know anything about that album. I'm just in shock.
And it's from those hard, sweet numbers came Motley Crue, so as I don't feel massive influence on Thrash. Jeff, I can sit here and talk to you all day, but I know you've got another interview to do, and you've got a train to catch, and
sure.
You can talk, so we've got to do another interview another time.
I was worried I didn't say enough.
Because the album Suicide Society is out on September the 18th on UDR Music.
That's right.
We look forward to that. And, I'll be seeing you again at Wacken this year, so
Oh, good.
I'm really looking forward to that. Jeff, all the best in the future.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Are you going to be